Hello, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. It's me, your host, Tiffany. If you're watching this for the first time, hello. Thank you for joining. Today, I'm really excited because I have a special guest coming on, Iona Morris Jackson. She's a director, an actress, a producer. She does it all. She works in theater, and I'm really excited to have her on. She should be joining us in just a minute. Um, and for those of you guys who have been watching me for a while, you know that I'm always saying, I'm trying to work on getting a guest. I'll have someone on soon, I promise. And I have had a guest before, but that was a while ago. So I'm glad that I'm actually finally doing what I said I was going to do. As much as I enjoy coming on here and just blabbing about what I love and what I'm interested in, I'm glad that I'm finally going to have somebody to actually speak with and hopefully kind of give you guys a break from hearing my voice all the time. You'll be able to hear the perspective of someone who works in the industry, somebody who could tell you about film, TV, theater, and like I said, she's done it all. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into this. And like I said, if this is your first time joining, hello. Hopefully, you guys can share the Facebook Live, and then if not, it'll also be on YouTube, Spotify. You could also watch it later, and just make sure to comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love people interacting with me, so that way I know who's watching. And if you guys have any questions while I'm talking to her, you can send them in. I'm not too sure if I will be able to see them. If I don't see them until after the show, I'll definitely show them to her. Um, but yeah, it's fine. So she's here right now. I'm gonna add her in.
Okay.
Yes, now I can.
You can
I
hear
was
me
trying to
now.
make sure it wasn't on my end.
Okay, so you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Gosh, why is it I look like when I look at my are we live?
Yes.
Oh, hey there. I'm just looking at myself and it's like I'm all out of sync, but am I in sync for you?
Yes, you're in sync for me. It
Okay.
it could just be, technology.
Oh, could be, you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just as long as you guys can hear me and I'm in sync for you, all's good.
Yes.
Hello.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to have you on.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be with you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
Honestly, I'm having one of those days where my energy is low.
Mhm.
I'll tell you, and I thought about come on here and go, no, I'm doing great. But I'm going to tell you honestly, food matters so much. And I ate late last night. I had delicious ice cream and I went
Mhm.
on a trip and I got this delicious chocolate rum. Oh my God, it is
Ooh.
delicious from Cameroon. And but my system's like, No, we didn't want that." So I'm feeling a little low energy, but I'm feeling very, thoughtful this morning.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you're honest with me. I would definitely appreciate honesty over anything else.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know,
Yeah,
I
so
No, go
I'm sorry.
ahead, please. No, go ahead, please. I'm sure it'll come up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I was actually looking through your IMDb page
Mhm.
not too long before I started the show, and I was really surprised at how much voiceover work that you've done. So I did kind of want to start off talking about that if you didn't mind.
No, not at all. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was really curious to know. I mean, you've done so much theater, directing, acting, and I think for at least for my end, I think most of us know you as an actress. So I was really curious about the voiceover work. How did you even get into that? And was that something that you had been pursuing for a long time, or was that something you kind of just fell into?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's kind of a really cool story. So, my father was an actor, Greg Morris from Mission Impossible, way before your time, but your
Yes.
mom and grandma would remember.
Yes.
He never wanted his kids in the business, and he always got offers. He's like, no, no, I want my kids to be kids. Well, one Christmas I was 9, and he got an offer for. He said, we're looking for this little black angel for this Christmas show, and we can't find anyone. And we heard you have a 9-year-old daughter. Blah 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 blah. He came to me. I said, okay, I'll try it. So I go to the studio with my mom. They sit me in front of take me to the booth, sit me in front of the mic, and I audition. And the first words out of my mouth, Spirit said to me, "You're going to do this for the rest of your life." And I went, I was like, what was that? So fast forward to many, many years later, and I'm working in radio. As I'm working to become an actress, my day job was working at KHJAM and KHJFM as their receptionist. And everyone who called in went, "Who's the girl with the voice?" So I said, well, I remembered that experience and I took some voiceover classes. And one thing led to another. And I was a hustler and I would call people and say, hey, can I work with you? Can I work with you? And then it just started snowballing. And I did a lot of voiceovers, a lot of promos for CBS,
Mhm.
NBC and ABC, but mostly CBS. And then I moved to New York and I did a lot of commercials there. And then one day I got a call from some people I hadn't heard from in years who said, hey, we're looking for the voice of Storm from the X-Men cartoon. We love your
Mm.
voice. And so I came in and the studio execs heard me and they loved it. And that's my most famous voice, but I've done a lot of other voices, but that's what happened.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, it's so crazy for me. Like, I was looking through the list and I was seeing like shows that I grew up watching as a kid, like Chalk Zone and Rocket Power and Scooby Doo and all these things. And I'm like, that's so crazy to think that I was probably listening to your voice as a child and I had no idea that that was you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love voiceover work. I think it is a wonderful way of acting, of another way of doing that for us. It's really exciting to do. And so we I'm sorry, my husband just came in. I told him I was doing the show with you guys. He just,
You told him to say hi.
bye, honey. I went like this, and I'm like, oh my god, that was so.
You're fine.
He's so funny. Um, but it's a lot of fun. First of all, you can show up in your jammies, and in the old days, we used to all show up together in the studio, and now a lot of things are done with one person at a time, or either on our. You see, I'm in my makeshift studio that I have in my home. And if there's anyone who wants to get into voiceovers, what I always advise is take several classes. You'll take one class, and then the carrot on the at the end of it is we're going to make an audio tape for you. I say don't do it, and this is why. The voice is the last thing to go. So when you are auditioning, when you get out there in the world, in the market, you're auditioning against people who've been in this industry for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And you really don't have any idea what you're doing. You're in a class, you're being prompted and given direction right there on how to do that spot better. When you do your tape, they're probably going to be really mad at me, but I'm sorry. This is what I find is the truth. The person who's doing the tape for you is working really hard to make sure you get it together, and now you send it to an agency. Either one of two things happen. They either go, you're not ready for prime time, and it's very difficult to get them to listen to your reel again, or they go, yeah, let's get that person in, and you go in there, and now you're starting to audition, and you really don't have the experience. You don't have the chops yet
Mhm.
to know what you are doing. So I say take two, three, four classes. And the reason why I say that is because my father used to tell me this. You're going to steal from people. And that's what we do. You hear the way somebody does something, you go, oh, I never thought about twisting that word that way, or that phrase that way, or
Yeah.
using that technique. And you're not really stealing, you're growing. And then you've got to find what is your thing. What is it that makes you special? What makes me different from Tiffany, and vice versa?
Mhm.
And that takes some time so that when you send in your reel, you're ready to go. And you'll still be learning, as I am. I'm still learning, and the industry changes, and so you change with it. But I say take your time with it.
Wow, that's really great. So I know you're more focused on directing right now. Are you still doing voiceover work? Is that something that you're still interested in doing?
I'm still auditioning, but I'm actually pulling away from it some. It's interesting because I'm having a conversation with myself about that now because I'm so focused on directing. So I'm not putting as much time in it. In anything that you do, any craft that you take on, you've got to put time into it. So I am pulling away from it.
Right, right. And you kind of already answered one of my other questions. I did kind of want to ask you a little bit about your upbringing and how you even got into the industry. And I was curious to know, because your father was Greg Morris, did he encourage you to be in the industry or not? And you said that he didn't. So I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about that. Like, Once you did get into the industry, was there pressure for you to thrive because of who your father was?
No, not at the time I was in it. No, not really. Neither one of my parents wanted me in the industry because my father was concerned about the casting couch.
Hmm.
He was also concerned about there weren't a lot of roles for Black women at that time, and he thought, "Oh, I don't want you eating beans, baby. I want you to thrive." And your family will always want your best interests and not want you to suffer. But I'm telling you, those were the best years for me when I was at that time acting in plays and I wasn't making any money and I'm working my 9 to 5s and I'm tired when I get to work because I was up late because I'm cutting my teeth.
Hmm.
I'm learning. And and so when my parents did come behind me to support me, I was 21 and I sat them down and I said, "This is what I have to do. It's not
Yeah.
what I want to do. It's what I have to do." And I had this whole speech and I got up and I spoke with force and they sat there and listened and they went, "Okay." And what has come to my understanding is when you know you have to do something, there's no one who's going to stand in your way.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's true. And then I did want to ask you too. I know that you said that you got into voiceover at a young age. So would you say that acting was your first love, or do you think voiceover acting was your first love?
Writing was my first love.
Oh, okay. I love writing.
Writing was my first love, and what I didn't know till I look back on my life that directing was my next love.
Mm,
See, I didn't know any directors when I was a kid. There weren't any female directors, more or less Black directors when I was a little kid. There might
mm,
have been, but I didn't know of them. And writing for me was about writing poetry. When I
mm,
was a kid, I loved writing poetry or short stories about life. And so acting was my fallback because I saw Black actresses and it was fun and it came easy to me and I liked it.
mhm.
But it was my fallback. And then I thought it was something I do for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I wrote a one woman show and a girlfriend of mine came to see it and she said, "Oh, would you direct mine?" I said, "Oh, absolutely not. I'm an actress." So for 3 months she bugged me. "Okay, okay, I'll come to your rehearsal." I came to rehearsal. I gave her notes. And in that moment, I knew this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And it
Mm.
took a while, but then I transitioned, and I'm so glad I did.
Wow. Yeah, and speaking of acting, you played a reoccurring role on the show Moesha.
Yeah.
And that is a show that me and my sister grew up watching, and we still love it to this day. And I always remember you on that show. Could you talk about your experience working on that? Like how you even got the role, and when you initially got the role, did you know that you were going to be coming back as Sandy, or did you think it was just a one-time thing?
You know what? I auditioned. That's how I got the role. I am wondering, I think it might have been like 1 or 2 episodes, and I ended up maybe doing about 3 or 4 of them.
Hmm.
And it was wonderful. Cheryl Lee Ralph, who's just still going strong, even stronger now than
Yeah,
ever
she's
before.
killing
You're not kidding. She's killing it.
it.
I'm so happy for her and proud of her because she stuck with it. And I'm here to tell you everything she says is true. Stick with your dreams. You are never too old for your dreams to go to another level.
Mm,
And so it was a lot of fun. I loved working on that show. Brandy was just terrific. Cheryl Lee was wonderful. And I loved William, who played the father. All of them were great. And as a matter of fact, I met Ray J when he was about 8 years old.
wow.
Done a film with Tim Reed and Felicia Rashad called Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, and I played a dancer. And Felicia was the aunt to Ray J's character. And
Mm.
I had come into town as this floozy dancer, and I stayed at their house. And that was where Ray J was living. So I met Ray J when he was about 8 or 9. And then to see him later on and play his mom was really cool.
So when you came back to play his mom, did he remember you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He remembered me.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a nice little reunion. It was terrific.
Wow. Okay. And then did you know, so with your character, for the most part, I think everybody thought that you were Dorian's mom. Dorian played Ray J for people that don't know.
So did I.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. I was gonna be like, did the writers tell you that that was gonna happen, or was that something that had kind of just been written in later on?
A regime change took place.
Okay.
And so a different come from the about the show was happening. And that's when they came up with this idea. And I kind of liked it the other way because I felt William's character was a stand-up black man on television.
Hmm.
And to now bring up that he was secretly Ray J's dad, I thought that added something that was typical.
Yeah.
And what was really lovely was what was atypical. But I think looking at you and kind of getting your vibe and through my life, I'm used to seeing a black father who's responsible,
Hmm.
who's there for their children. So it wasn't an anomaly to me. So yeah, we found out in that season they had us come in and shoot that episode where you find out that I'm not the mom.
Wow. Yeah, that was insane. Even when I go back and look at it now, I'm like, they really did that.
Yeah, right. And I think a lot of audiences were disappointed that that was the truth too.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think a lot of people were disappointed in Frank's character because we looked at him as like the good, upstanding dad, and then to find out that big secret, and even the way Moesha, reacted, she was upset at him for a really long time.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
You're like, yes, I'll keep it at that.
But
Um,
let me tell you, you and I was not a regular on the show, but I know this happens. Writers bring you material. And then if you're a regular on the show, a lot of times the regulars will speak up and say what I like, what I didn't like, and hey, what. But if that's the way the producers and the writers want the show to go, you've got a job to do, and you do it the best you can. And I
right.
feel that's what Frank's character, William Allen Young is his name, the
Mhm.
actor. William and Cheryl Lee did the best they can do to really play that off and to hopefully still keep him in a good light with their audiences.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I do want to take just a quick break to let people know that my podcast is sponsored by Stream Media. Quick little ad break for you guys. So thank you to Stream Media for sponsoring the podcast. And then if you guys want to check them out yourself, you could go to studio.stream.com. All you need is an email to get inside, and then you'll get a login code, and you could be doing this like what I'm doing. You could do podcasting, you could do live streaming, you could do gaming, you could do all that kind of stuff. So check it out, and then make sure that you guys let Stream Media know what you like and what you don't like because they're working on new features right now. And then, yeah, tell them that Tiffany sent you. Uh, but anyway, I did want to, yeah, but I did want to ask you, of course, about directing the
Mhm.
episode of Blackish. You were just recently nominated for an NAACP award, so congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Tell me about that experience. How did you even get the opportunity to do that? And is this something that, with TV directing, do you see yourself doing that moving forward?
Absolutely. And okay, that's a kind of a cool story. I was directing theater and still acting. I after I directed that one person show, then I started directing a lot of one person shows. Jennifer Lewis, Blair Underwood, Penny Johnson Gerald, Kim Wayans, and then many others. Co-writing as well and producing. And I had directed a show and then a play that was a comedy, and I something hit me, and I went, I want to go to television now. And I didn't know quite how to do that. I knew how to do that as an actress, but I didn't know how to get into a position of working crew. And I had no idea how to direct television. That's a different animal than directing theater. And so I spent 8 hours with an actress friend of mine. She was getting out of the cars, dropping her off at home. She said, "Hey, I don't know if you want to do this, but I was offered this job as the dialogue coach on this new sitcom called Blackish, starring Lawrence Fishburne." I went, "I'm in." Anthony,
Yeah.
I'm so there. She said she couldn't do it, and she said, "Why would you want to do that?" I said, "Well." because then I get a chance to shadow directors. I get a chance to know what it's like to work as crew on a set, television set. I interviewed for the job. I knew two of the producers. One I had just directed in a play, which was really cool. So I got the job.
Mhm.
They told me if you want to direct, I didn't let them know what I wanted to do right away because I didn't want them to think that I was going to come on their show and try to assert myself into that position.
Yeah.
So I played low key. But after several years, I let them know, and they said, well, you need to direct a short. And so I did. I wrote a short, I directed it, I co executive produced it, and I spent a lot of money. So the sound was good, the lighting was good. I used a lot of my fantastic crew came from Blackish,
Mhm.
and it was wonderful. I showed it to them, they liked it. That was in my sixth year, the sixth season of the show.
Mhm.
So the eighth season comes up, and we find out it's the last season, and I'm chomping at the bit. I got to get an episode. So I send an email to three different executive producers, not letting them know that I sent it to either one of them. You liked my short. You know, I've been on the show for a long time. I have studied, watched a lot of these directors, and I'd like a shot. That weekend, Tracy Ellis Ross had called them up and said, hey, I'm not going to, she had a deal to direct an episode, and she let go of that episode because she was so busy doing other things. Well,
Mhm.
that left the slot open. I got
Mm.
the slot.
Wow.
And then because I worked so closely with the cast and I was so intimate with them for all these years, they gave me this beautiful script, If a Black Man Cries in the Woods, written by Rob, double B is what we call him because it's ROBB, Chase.
Mhm.
And it was a dream come true. And then right at that same time, the Disney ABC program for directing program was starting. And I got an interview and I got into that. And it just happened. And it was wonderful. And so I tell you that long story to really tell people if you want something, you may have to take a few steps back, which I did because as theater director, I'm honcho. And I had to take some steps back. And there were times during those seasons when it was hard for me, but I had a goal in mind and I learned an awful lot and it got me my shot.
Yeah, it sure did. It was definitely meant for you to get that.
Yeah, it was. It was. And yes, television directing and film directing is what I want to do.
Oh, that's great to hear. Would you mind talking about the differences between theater directing and TV directing and how you were, able to kind of, I guess, learn how to do TV directing?
You're telling the for television and for film, you're telling the story through the camera. When I'm directing a play, it's what I see, and it's the proscenium stage, and there's a lot more movement.
Mm,
When you're working with the camera, it's even though the actors, you will see the move, it's the camera that's moving and telling the story. And I can remember the day when my brain went, "Oh, I got it. I can see, I see it now." And that's the biggest difference to me.
mm,
Also, theater directing, it's much bigger. The actors are much bigger much louder in their voices, much bigger in their facial expressions and all their behaviors. And in film and television, that camera picks up the smallest change within your face,
mm,
within your demeanor, your spirit. And those are the two biggest differences
mm.
to me.
Wow, that's interesting. Um, I know your brother is Phil Morris. He's an actor.
Mm.
Do you guys have any projects together, or would you ever want to do any projects with him moving forward?
Oh my goodness, we have a big one actually. Well, we'll see. There's some things happening. We have an IG live that we do every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Hmm.
And it started when I hired a social media company because I don't get social media and I needed some help.
Yeah.
And in talking to this wonderful man, Robert Max, he said to me, and we want to get you doing an IG live. And I went, no way. Yeah.
Uh,
Let's just first get me used to doing Instagram. Let's get me used to. So we go on. We have a 3 month contract, and then in the last week, and he calls me up. We're assessing. He says, Iona, you should do an IG live and just check it out. And I'm like, "Ah." And I'd always kind of thought about doing something like that, just sharing some wisdom of what I've learned in life, inspiring people. And so what I did was I called up my brother because I'd seen him do a few of them on his own. I said, "Can I do it with me?" He said, "Okay."
Yeah.
So we did it together, and then that was kind of fun. And then the second week we did it. I said, "Let's do it again." We're over 40 shows in now.
Wow, see? That's not
Yeah.
so bad.
Like, that kind of speaks to your cute little commercial that you just gave, inspiring other people. And so the name of our show is The Vision is Possible.
Mhm,
And it's really exciting. We have a lot of guests on there, and then there are some weeks where it's just he and I. Like this week, it'll be he and I, like
mhm.
we started, and we talk about things that you and I are talking about now, and just supporting people in their journeys in life.
Oh, that's great. Well, I definitely have to check that out then.
Yeah, yeah, please do.
And then I did want to ask you, I guess, about your inspiration, especially as a director now. What inspires you? What are some films that inspire you or things that you grew up watching that you feel like have kind of affected the way you work?
Hmm. I actually wrote a few little notes down here just in case. I love telling stories, and I love, as I said, I love inspiring people. I
Mhm,
love giving them maybe a different way of thinking about something, or to relate something, an historical figure or historical fact they may not have known about, to educate, to enlighten. And so the stories that I love to tell are in the genre of, I love all the Marvel movies. I'm a superhero fan, but I also love films like Water for Chocolate. Uh,
mm,
I love storytelling. Angela Barnes, who's actually the director who won the award for Best Comedy Director for the Image Awards this year that I was nominated. I was in a session with her I think maybe last year or the year before, where she was working on a Marvel film. And I asked her, I said, "Wow, that just, it looks like it's so big." And I
mhm,
get concerned about how much do I have to learn about special effects and blah, 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 so that you can do that. And she said, what was said to her, which has to do with everything that you do. It's about telling the story. It's about the characters. What are the characters going through?
mm,
And that's what excites me about being a director. Yes, learning about the lenses. Yes, learning about different shots. Yes, even learning about lighting. And yes, even having knowledge, some knowledge in the special effects area. But mainly it's about is telling the story, and how
mm,
do you help your actors to get to that place, and how do you not only help them but allow them to get to that place. Water for Chocolate is a film I love. Daughters of the Dust, a film from way back, is a fabulous, fabulous film that I loved. Eve's Bayou is a wonderful film that I love. And all of these have to do about characters. It has to do about people um, going through challenges in their lives, going through learning about themselves, and how do they go about doing that? How does that happen? What do they discover about themselves and about other people? What do they learn? What losses do they go through?
yeah,
And how do they um, go through that and still survive and still move forward?
mm,
That's what I love about directing. And I have a detailed eye and a detailed mind.
mhm,
And so as an actor, I love acting, but what I found is as I kept directing is I'm into my character, the moment, this scene, what's happening with where I'm going to go, my relationships. As a director, I've got the purview of everything.
right.
And I love having that eye.
Yeah, yeah, that makes total sense. And then I did want to ask you too, so since you are more focused on TV directing now, do you think you'll ever really go back to acting?
I'm sure something will come up that will draw me in. But right now, I'm not interested in doing that. And I say that because I know someone's going to go, okay, look, it's a great part. Matter of fact, matter of fact, now that I say that, someone just sent me a script, and I was like, Yeah, okay, I like it. I'll do it. They're looking to shoot it in October. We'll
Oh,
see
okay.
we'll see what happens, and that'll be kind of fun being on the other side. Um, my performing right now would actually be in the poetry that I write.
Hmm.
I love doing that because all my poetry is about inspiring and uplifting and digging deep into the spirit and the soul, and what can I reveal that I've learned about that, or what am I looking to learn more about that. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm sure. And even though I say that about voiceovers, I may take a break, but I'll be back to it. You can't keep a good performer down.
Right, right. And then you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like what I find really interesting in the industry now, it seems like there's a lot of actors transitioning from being in front of the camera to going behind the camera. And I see that with a lot of younger actors, like actors that are like 18, 19, 20, and they're already talking about producing their first film or wanting to be a director. And so, do you think as an actor that that's a natural progression to want to eventually be a director or to work behind the scenes? Or do you think that's something that maybe the industry pushes on actors to do that?
I'll tell you, I grew up with dancer, actress, singer. Those were the hyphens.
Mhm.
And those people were mostly coming from back east from New York. Now the hyphens are writer, director, actor, producer.
Yeah.
And that's relatively new.
Mm.
And I think, no, I don't believe that's something that the industry is pushing. Trust me, directors did not want actors to come into their field.
Okay.
And producers would much rather have us, okay, just stand over there and say the lines that we give you. They would
Yeah.
much rather. But what has happened is that being an actor, a lot of times is when someone allows you to do your thing. And and now actors are like, I don't want to wait for someone to give me permission to
Mm.
create. I want to create.
Yeah.
And actors are storytellers. I can write. I'm going to write.
Mhm.
Actors are on the set all day. They watch and see what the producers are doing. They see what works. They see what doesn't work. I can do that. And it's also a point of we are producer, director, actor, we are dancer, singer. We're all creative beings. And your creativity doesn't oftentimes does not just land in one arena
Right.
because of how for years of how the studio system was set up. It was actors over here, directors over here, writers over here, and now the actors get a chance to be like butterflies, to explore and to find new parts of us that, yeah, I love to write. So now we can do all kinds of things. We can direct,
Mhm.
we can write. And so now it's becoming a normal thing that if you are an actor, you also have other sides of yourself self that you're exploring. You're creating content.
Mhm.
And that to me is really exciting. And you look right now how many streaming platforms there are, and they are looking for content.
Yeah.
So that is open to a lot of people to now express themselves in different ways and to put out their stories that they want to see. You know, I'll tell you this. This also stems for me in my directing one person shows and helping people create them because I was a big proponent and still am, but I'm going back to when I started of don't wait for that phone to ring. That's how I started writing my own one person shows. My phone didn't ring for 2 months and I was panicked. And that just shows you how much I was working and
Mm.
auditioning. 2 months was nothing for most people. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I sat down, I wrote my own one person show, and I performed it. And I found that just opened up so much within myself. Those casting directors didn't have the power over me. They
Yeah.
had over me any longer. If you didn't hire me, that's okay. I'm going right back to my computer and I'm doing my thing over here. And I've got a show that I'm doing this Friday and Saturday that I created. And
Mhm.
that was important to me to help other people who are also wanted to do that and didn't want to wait to be given permission. And now we see it's not only gone into creating a one person show, it's gone into it's creating a television series, it's
Mhm.
films, it's directing, it's a very exciting um, time. And I think for some directors who have also thought, I also want to act, so the lines are blurring now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think to add on to your point, you kind of touched on it a little bit about how there's so many different streaming platforms now, and I think, especially with the younger generation, everybody has phones, everybody has laptops and everything, and they're able to create films on their own now, where you couldn't do that back in the day.
There was no such thing as a podcast.
Yeah,
Tiffany couldn't do what she's doing
right.
now with technology. Look how this all changes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'm glad to be alive to see it. When I was a little girl, my mother told me, "Baby, you can be a ballerina and you can be a nurse." When I was 12, my mother said, "You can own the theater company and you could be a doctor." And I was like, "Huh? Wait a minute. I didn't know I could." And now, it's a whole different story now.
Mhm.
Now private people are going into space.
Yeah, yeah. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I don't want to keep you on for too long.
Oh.
But before I do let you go, I did want to just give you the floor if there was anything that you wanted to promote or anything that you wanted to talk about, any upcoming projects or anything like that.
Well, I'd really like for you guys to join my brother Phil Morris and I on Thursdays at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for the Vision is Possible, our show on IG Live. And I would like to leave you with this. As I said when I first started, I'm feeling thoughtful today.
Mhm.
And I think, Tiffany, it's also because of we haven't met, but I believe in energy, and your energy was reaching out to me. I want to inspire everyone that if there's something you want to do, do it.
Mhm.
And don't sit down and say, I don't know how to, I don't know how. Google, baby. Google
Yeah.
will teach you everything. It will at least get you started.
Yeah.
But get out there and do what your dreams are. And watch out for your mom and your dad, your brother, your sister, even your best friends, because they, thinking they're looking out for you, will tell you, no, 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 you're fine. You're fine. Stay where you are. Keep that secret to you.
Mhm.
Look and see what is your passion and go out there and do it. The world is waiting for you. The world needs you. Just think, if Tiffany hadn't gone out to do what she's doing now, we wouldn't meet. And you
Mhm.
wouldn't meet many of the other guests she brings on. You wouldn't find out what a delicious, wonderful person she is. And I bet, Tiffany, you have grown so much since your first show. So, baby, whatever you want to do it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's nice to meet you, sweetness.
It's so nice to meet you too. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Bye bye, Tiff.
Bye bye. Thank you guys for joining. I'll see you guys next Saturday, same time. And you guys feel free to share on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, really any social platform that you want to. And yeah, I'll be seeing you guys soon. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.